And boom. What's up, Joanna? How's it going?
It's going well, Travis.
Cool. Good to see you.
So good. Yeah, you too. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast
Yeah, yeah.
slash show.
Right, yes. So are you in Helsinki right now, Finland?
I'm in Helsinki, yeah, and it's 8 o'clock in the evening, my time, but it's still very light outside because it's that time of year and the Nordics, and it's just wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So yeah, so it's 8 o'clock there. I'm in LA.
Uh,
It's 10 a.m. here. So, but we're hitting like summer. It's pretty hot now. What's it like over there?
well, it's been, I think by Finnish standards, it's been quite hot as well.
Yeah.
Like it's about 25 degrees centigrade,
Hmm.
I mean, not right now, but it has been for a few days. And that's hot.
Hmm.
That's kind of more than we're used to at this time
Right.
of year. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So we share something. We may be related. Who knows?
Who
Because
knows?
you know
So funny.
because yeah, because your last name is Nyland, and that's my mother's maiden name, which I probably shouldn't reveal because that's a bunch of security questions, but yeah, is Nyland a common name in Finland?
Well, it's fairly common, yeah, among the Swedish-speaking minority, of which I am part.
Okay.
Nyland is quite common. So basically, along like the southwest coast, if you know the map of Finland, roughly what it looks like, the southwest coast, all the way up around, is basically where you would find people called Nyland. And it's
Oh.
it's quite common because another funny thing is my maiden name was Nyland.
Uh-huh.
My husband's name is also Nyland, but we're not related. So, but
Wow.
to keep us sort of apart, when we discuss things in our families, we talk about Nyland North and Nyland South, kind of, so people know which family we're talking about.
Right.
It is fairly common, but I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
that was
And
so
I
weird.
have to say, I saw a picture of you when I checked out your website, and I was like, my goodness, like if I saw you in downtown Helsinki, you would fit right in. You look so Finnish.
Would I? Okay.
Absolutely. Like, you could just come over here and claim your inheritance or whatever.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I've never been. I really want to come visit so bad. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh, you have to come.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like Helsinki is has been one of the top travel destinations recommended now for a few years running. And so now, and you have even more reason to come. So
Yeah. Wow.
just do.
So what should I do if I come to Helsinki? What are some top sites to see, I guess?
Well, I think just basically downtown and also like the islands, sort of in
Mm-hmm.
the uh, inlet to Helsinki. There's like a lot of islands that you can get to really quickly. Like just take a ferry and it takes about 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and they're just like it's like paradise, and you don't believe that you're actually sometimes literally looking at the central part of town from where you are because you're in this little summer paradise. So that's
Oh,
that's one of the special things that we have in Helsinki, all the islands just outside. So at this time of year I would go there.
yeah.
Basically, there's the center of town with all the different sites, like our big church and our main streets, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, is Helsinki kind of like a big city, or what's the vibe there?
Well, it's again by Nordic standards, it is, it's big. It's like 1.5 million in the
Yeah.
greater Helsinki area. So it's our biggest city, it's our capital.
Uh-huh.
And we kind of think it's big. Like if you come from the countryside like I do, it was the big city. Now I've
Right.
lived for 15 years or more, so now it doesn't feel so big anymore, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good size. It's like I think the slogan in Finnish is something like it's a human size capital. Like it's not too big to walk around in, and
Okay.
you can go across the center quite easily.
Uh-huh. That's
So
good.
like, and it's very green, so
Is
that's
it?
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That
Mm.
sounds like similar to Portland here over in up in Oregon, where they have just like a bunch of parks and kind of greenland and foresty area where you can walk, 10 minutes outside the city and not see anything.
Right. Yeah, I've heard good things about Portland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Mhm.
love visiting there.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, we got to talk about Sisu, right?
Yeah.
That's your book, Sisu, the Finnish art of courage. So let's just start. What is how can we translate Sisu if it's possible, or what does Sisu mean really?
Well, I think that's the whole point basically with my book. I
Mm-hmm.
can't translate it, but you can translate it using lots of different words. So
Yeah.
it's like it's courage, it's resilience, it's guts in a way, it's tenacity. It's a certain kind of stubbornness. It's kind of related to grit, but it's not psychologically. It's not the same thing. There's like academic research on these things now, but it's
Mm-hmm.
related to grit as well. And it's just basically this one. We just have this like one word to describe basically an attitude of life. I would say that lets you um, tap into your inner strength, especially in times when you really don't think that you have it or you don't have any more of it. And that's when you kind of reach for your sisu. And it's in Finland, it's something that kind of it crops up in conversation all the time. And we have all these kinds of sayings, and we're always saying to each other like, well, I'm going to really need some sisu for this, and so people are it's very much part of our vernacular and our kind of the way we think, this
Mm-hmm.
character trait, which is it's a little bit mystical, but it kind of involves all of those things that I said.
Yeah, because I mean, I think I mentioned to you when we first started talking that I we always had a Sisu, like a wooden Sisu sign hanging in our
Yeah,
kitchen growing up
yeah,
because well, I'm Finnish. I don't think we even mentioned that I'm Finnish. My whole family's Finnish. We're like, I don't know, like 90% Finnish, something like that. So my grandparents, they were born in Finland. Oh gosh, I should know that for sure. But I think they were born in Finland. They spoke
right,
Finnish towards the end of their life. They didn't really speak it anymore. They forgot a lot of it just because they weren't using it. But
right.
yeah, I grew up kind of like hearing about Finland, and we always had that Sisu sign, and that's what I was told it was like. I was like, what does that mean? And everyone's like, well, it means courage and this, but it's kind of like hard to grasp and
Yeah,
translate, you know?
yeah,
So
exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
That's why you
tricky.
have to write a whole book.
You have to write a whole book exactly. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I mean, can we dive into it a little bit more? Like
sure.
how does how can someone maybe practice Sisu or, bring it into their life more?
Well, I think I suppose the first step would be to read something about it, to understand it a bit more. But it is a very practical thing, and that's one of the things I wanted to do with my book as well, to make it as concrete and practical as possible. And I think for one part, one area of life where we kind of really utilize Sisu a lot is when we try to set a goal for something, like say I'm going to be running a marathon. I kind of know that I'm going to need to set up some goals, and I'm going to need to have a plan for those times when I feel like I'm going to be probably exhausted and on the verge of giving up. And that's usually when Sisu kind of, you sort of call upon this quality that you believe that you have inside you. So I think maybe that's one area, but basically anything that makes you a little scared, or even I would say any kind of crisis. I think it's really, if you look at Sisu historically for us Finns, it's kind of really come into its own when we've been faced with like impossible odds or a crisis, like I'm sure from your family history, back during the Second World War, and when Finland was attacked by the Soviet Union, which was like huge, and we were like really really tiny and underarmed and under everything, and still
Yeah.
kind of won the first part of that conflict. And that's like the Sisu moment that has really defined us as a nation. But you can find it in those like big moments, but I think it's today obviously more interesting to think about how it applies to our lives, our fairly comfortable lives, and how
Hmm.
how and when we kind of need it. So yeah, I'm trying in the book. I'm trying to look at different things like integrity, for instance, like having integrity online, which I think is a really like a burning topic right now. To sort of stand up for what stand behind your words, and all these like old-fashioned values of just integrity basically, and how Sisu kind of plays a part in that as well. So I was trying to find these maybe more modern approaches to using it.
Okay, so even integrity would kind of be, tied into Sisu.
Yeah, I think so, because it kind of, Sisu is a little bit like it's a bit like taking responsibility for your own life. It's a bit like you're kind of in charge, and you have to take responsibility for that. The things that you do, the things that you say. And I think especially now online, with the kind of debate climate that we have in the media climate, I think civil courage is kind of also part of Sisu, and something that you can think about, because excuse me, I think one of the things that we find difficult now is that there's so many, it's so easy to just kind of go with the flow. Like someone is doing or saying something, and it's really easy to just jump on that bandwagon or that debate, and not actually stop to think, whoa, wait, is this really me? Do I represent my values right now? Am I living the kind of life that I'm proud of? And I think maybe that kind of self-realization is really part of Sisu, is kind of knowing who you are basically, and living a life of that kind of integrity.
Okay.
I don't know if that explains it, but
yeah, no, I'm beginning to kind of understand what it really means. So I mean, like, kind of in when you're using it in vernacular, when you're just speaking, is Sisu kind of used as like an encouragement to motivate people or put them on the right path?
Yeah, I think so, because it's like a good friend of mine said that she remembers really clearly the first time her parents told her that she had Sisu.
Oh.
Because it's kind of the sort of thing that makes you grow, like you grow a few inches when someone tells you that you have it. So basically it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy in a good way.
Oh, okay.
Somebody else believes that you have it, and then you're like, oh, and you rise to the challenge. So I think that's one aspect of it, that we tell each other it's a really good thing to say to someone. It's a really beautiful compliment to pay to someone, to say that you have a lot of Sisu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So now, kind of in modern day, is it being used a lot and thrown around, or is it kind of a special word that people don't use very often? Because, like, at least here in like in the LA area, everyone uses like the word like amazing all the time, and like incredible for like just normal things. I'm like, it's not really incredible. Like, incredible sort of lost the the value of it, because we use it so often. So
Right.
is Sisu like that, or is it kind of reserved for special things?
I would say it is reserved for special things. I don't think we've had that kind of inflation, but that doesn't mean it doesn't get used a lot. I think it is still part of the way we speak and the way we kind of relate to the world and ourselves and so on. But if you know anything about Finnish culture, you know that words are used quite sparingly, and we kind of, we do place a lot of value on words. So I would say that if you came to Finland and a Finn told you that you had Sisu, that's like, whoa, that's big. Yeah,
Man.
so I would say it's kind of both, but when I say that we use it a lot, it's because it's in our language, in so many ways, and they're like products called Sisu, and there's all that kind of, it's a really positive trait and thing that marketers have discovered as well, that if you name a product Sisu, it's going to sell better. So it is part of, it's there somehow all the time.
So what product is named Sisu?
Well, there's a kind of candy that's called Sisu, and there's a big truck company that makes like these like really huge trucks, and they're called Sisu as well. That's at least two that I can think of right off the top of my head. Yeah.
So you eat the Sisu candy and it gives you
You
Sisu,
can
huh?
give you more. You can give you a boost. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I mean, and it's I think in some part it's just hard to kind of translate or grasp because it seems like such it encompasses so much, just the one
Yeah.
word, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but is it really like a I don't know, would you say it's more of a trait or kind of like a lifestyle for that someone lives?
Mm. That's a good question. I would spontaneously say that it's a trait, but
Okay.
um, yeah, I think it's a lifestyle in the sense that it's part of our culture and our cultural identity. So in that sense, part of a lifestyle. But I think maybe some people would say that it is their lifestyle because it's a way to approach life. You know,
Hmm.
it's this kind of fairly independent and self-assured way of looking at things that some people have, and that's something that we say as well, you know, like that we grade it, we would say that, oh, she's got a lot of sisu, or he needs more sisu, you know, so it's not like it's the same for everyone. So I think some people have embraced the concept, I think, a bit more than
Hmm.
others, probably. But what was the first part of your question again? I think I lost the thread.
Well, I mean, you kind of answered it. I was just
Oh,
curious.
okay.
Yeah, it's just tough to grasp, I guess.
Yeah,
You
just
know,
ask whatever follow-up questions you have because I know it's a bit tough.
yeah. Well, and I mean, it's kind of funny because it's like a word that we just don't, it's untranslatable, I guess. So
Yeah,
it's hard for
yeah,
us to get this across.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
But,
You can
yeah, the,
just
yes,
figure.
that's why there's a book. And definitely have links to that and everything. So people should definitely check out the book. Um, but can we talk about, do you know what the origins of Sisu, where it kind of
Yeah,
comes from? And,
I do. Yeah, it's a really, really old word, which is
hmm.
interesting. The first sort of written reference that we know of is 500 years old, but that probably, like, you know, that's just the first written one. So
Right.
I think it's not an exaggeration to say it probably goes back 1,000 years or something, and it
Hmm.
actually comes from the Finnish word sisus or sisälmykset, which
Hmm.
is the word for guts in
Okay.
Finnish. But it's not perhaps guts in the sense that we use it in English, you know, like it is related to that, but it comes from this ancient belief that people used to have that your stomach was the source of your strength, like not your head or your heart, but your stomach. That's where
Huh.
your inner fire was, you know, and you can sort of see it in this English expression, fire in one's belly, you know, like at least
Hmm.
the British have that, and that's something I think a lot of different people groups shared back then. So that's where it comes from originally, which is I think quite interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. So it comes from your belly. Okay, I could see that.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
especially other terms, how they've kind of come from that. So makes
Hmm.
sense.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so I mean, let's see. I mean, is we all sort of have like a little bit of Sisu in us
Oh yeah,
already,
sure,
right?
sure, absolutely, yeah,
Like it's just I think it's just kind of inherent at certain times in our life, like we'll have more or less maybe and
yeah.
rise to the challenge and different things like that. But are there, certain, practices or ways of thinking that we can develop to increase our Sisu?
Uh, yeah, I think probably the sort of the starting point again. I think is there's a quote in my book which I really love. I interviewed this guy who's an explorer, and he's, you know, he's climbed all the mountains and he's been to Antarctica and all these places and done
Yeah.
crazy Sisu things. So I knew I wanted to talk to him about that, and he definitely believes in Sisu, and he said that obviously, you know, it's not a Finnish thing, it's not a Finnish invention or anything like that, it's universal. But
Hmm.
the sort of the benefit that we have in Finland is that we've kind of identified this trait early on, and we've packaged it, we've named it and packaged it. And he
Yes.
thinks that that's really key because when you know and sort of believe that it exists, you can tap into it. So I think maybe that's where it kind of starts, you know, that you
Okay.
kind of when you realize that, okay, I'm facing something that I'm going to be needing Sisu for. It's a little bit like you're hunkering down and you're pulling up your, coat and whatever, and you're sort of bracing yourself against whatever is coming. And I think it's maybe that sort of mental preparedness in a way, because you know that, okay, I'm going to need more than I think I have for this. And that you kind of get into that mindset, okay, this is that kind of time. And another quote that I liked personally very much is that I spoke to a Swedish businessman, and he said that he's worked with people from all over the world, lots of different nationalities, and he said that one thing that he's learned is that when you're facing a crisis, you need to call in the Finns, because nobody can handle it like they do. Like everybody else panics and they just say, okay, this is what we'll do.
Right.
Like you get into this sense of like focus, like intense focus and a calm, I suppose you would call it, like in the center of the storm. So I think again, like, but it starts with identifying it, and then you can sort of maybe learn more about it, and then kind of start to apply it to different areas of your life, hopefully.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, just become consciously aware of it as the first step, and then you can start to tune into it and develop it more. So you mentioned the first guy who's, is kind of a climber and, does a lot of outdoor stuff. Would that be kind of an example of where, you're kind of going into that and you say like, I'm going to need some Sisu to get through this. Like, I mean, is that a good example of it, sort of, where you're going to need to physically exhaust yourself and mentally prepare yourself for like a tough, hike or something?
Yeah. Well, I would say that's like the maybe even the stereotypical view of Sisu also in Finland, is that tough people have a lot of Sisu, and I kind of challenge that view a little bit in my book, because I think like we all have our own mountains to climb, in our lives, and everybody's going to be facing at some point a crisis or something really difficult. So it doesn't really matter, if you're out there doing big visible things, or if it's something, that other people don't see, but it's a big challenge. So I'm trying to broaden it a bit. I think it's always been quite broad, actually, but it's, people have this mental image of somebody with Sisu is someone who runs up a mountain, is unfazed at the top, basically. And I sort of argue that that's not really the case. And actually, one example that I mentioned in my book is that I have a brother who's ill, and he has a chronic illness, which is, it affects his muscles, and they have, he's become worse and worse over the years, slowly. And he is my Sisu hero for the reason that he's, he has just applied this kind of extreme patience and tenacity to the fact that he's kind of lost so much of his dexterity, for instance, and his ability to do things. And he used to be this wonderful carpenter and be able to do stuff with his hands. And when his hands started to shake, and he would have, he would be struggling to do it, he would just let it take time. He would just, he would wait for a bit for the worst to pass, pick up, whatever tools he was holding, pick them up again, start working on it again, and then, take a break and get back to it again, take a break, get back to it again. And just that kind of, I mean, he has patience like, I'm not like that at all, but I just admire that so much. And I think that's Sisu, that's Sisu, to not give up, and to just keep doing, whatever you love to do for as long as you can possibly do it, and not just give up at the first side of trouble, basically, or and that's the essence of it, to not give up. And I think, everybody has challenges like that in life, where we need to be reminded not to give up sometimes.
Nice, man. Well, I feel like we've done a fairly good job of explaining it. I'm beginning to, really understand it. Yeah. It feels, it feels good. So are you kind of hoping that, the world in general, like, well, at least in America here and stuff, that we start using Sisu in our vernacular and telling someone they have Sisu?
Well, I would love for that to happen. I really
Hmm.
would. I think that would be so great because we've already given sauna, to the world
Yes.
as a concept. I mean, not a lot of people don't know that it's a Finnish word, but anyway.
Hmm.
So I would love for Sisu to be another one of those words that people just kind of, yeah, and I don't see why not. So,
Hmm. Right.
yeah,
Well, and I love that, I wish there was it's kind of interesting the way that words have meaning and how we figure out the meaning of a word, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But like yeah, I just love how you guys have packaged up this whole concept into one word, and
mm,
I want us to, also take that. So I'm going to start using that and trying to explain it to people and
yeah, good.
directing them to your book. Yeah.
That's great. I actually befriended this British guy who's also a mountaineer and explorer. He's actually cycling around the world as we speak,
Hmm.
and we became friends when he contacted me and said that he's written a book because he was the youngest British guy to scale the seven summits. Like the tallest mountain on every continent.
Hmm.
He wrote a book about his experiences, and he said, "Is it okay if I call it In Search of Sisu?" So it's
Oh.
like it's like I don't, not like he needed my permission to use the word, but I was like, "Whoa, that's so great!" And he knew everything about it.
Hmm.
Uh, so it's like, way to go to just kind of that's really hopeful when people who are not Finnish, also pick up on it and start spreading it like that.
Yeah. No,
So
that's awesome.
I'm
Glad to hear
hoping
it
for
spreading.
more. Yeah.
Cool. And then you mentioned sauna or sauna. How do you pronounce sauna in Finnish?
And sauna. Yeah.
Sauna. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
really, really good.
that's what I grew up saying is
Yeah, yeah,
sauna.
yeah, yeah,
My
yeah.
whole
It's
family
it's
said
sauna.
that.
I
Yeah,
think
but
it's harder in English to say. I mean, people always, the diphthongs are always difficult for a
Mm,
lot of English speakers. So that's why
okay.
it's become sauna. And I say sauna when I speak English, but it's sauna, definitely. Yeah.
Sauna. Okay.
Sauna.
Because
Hmm.
that's how I always say it. And then
Yeah, yeah.
our whole family said that. And then I got out into the real world and started saying sauna. And everyone's like, what are you saying? Why are you saying it like that? But I'm like,
Now you can just
I got
educate.
the right way. Yeah.
Yeah. Way to go.
Yeah. And I didn't realize. So we just took the Finnish word exactly and copied
Yeah.
it basically. We say
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wrong, but
Yeah. But you can't win them all.
yes, I guess so. Yeah. Can we talk about, I'm so curious about about using saunas and kind of the Finnish lifestyle, I guess, too. And I know
Yeah.
like being outdoors is a big deal to Finnish people in general, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So like, I mean, can you just kind of, I don't know, how do we start with this maybe, but like, let's just talk about saunas, I guess, first. Like, how important is that for a Finnish person?
Oh, hugely. Well, I mean, again, you can't really, it doesn't apply to everybody, obviously, but I would
Right.
say that probably 98, 99% of Finns enjoy the sauna, to,
Right.
like to go at least once a week. And
Nice.
that's how I grew up as well. And actually, when we used to live in like we used to live in an apartment when I was like really young, and
Hmm.
and one of the things and there was a communal sauna, so we would have a slot on Friday night or Saturday night when at 7 o'clock when our family would use the sauna, and my dad was like so frustrated with that, and then when we moved to a house of our own, the first thing he built was the sauna, like that was the first thing before the kitchen, before the bathroom, any of those
Right.
things. The sauna was ready.
Oh
so,
my gosh.
so that maybe says something.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of this um I think again, I mean, if you look on the surface of it, the sauna is about, going in and into this really hot room and sitting there for a while and getting clean. But I
Hmm.
think I think it's more, it's almost like a ritual. It's like this kind of relaxation, a place and time for relaxation. I think that's the big draw really with the sauna, that you might go with your friends, and then you have a beer afterwards, and you feel all like you would after a hot bath, like
Hmm.
really kind of really, you know, drowsy, and all your muscles feel relaxed, and it's just a wonderful feeling. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it feels great. Everyone who does a sauna loves it. I mean, it's awesome. So, but it is just, you guys sort of use it as a relaxation tool, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And like it's a weekly ritual. I think it was quite important for our family, for instance. I mean, we would usually light the sauna on a Saturday night, and then, when everybody had been, we'd sit down in front of the TV and watch a film, and have some Coke or something like that, and some people have beer. So it was like the whole package. It was this kind of togetherness, and like a family activity. Of
Hmm.
course, people go by themselves as well, so you have all these different things, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
Mm.
love that. I wish they were more popular here because it's great to go to a sauna, but they're kind of hard
Yeah,
to find around here. That's,
right, I'm sure. And then they're probably not hot enough, is my
right. Yeah.
guess.
You guys make them hot.
Yeah, I'm not good with Fahrenheit, but it's like usually between 80 and 120 degrees Celsius in a sauna.
Okay.
It's like,
Um,
water boils at 100 degrees. So it's
dang. Okay. That is
yeah.
hot.
So people, yeah, I sort of draw the line at 100. I like it somewhere between 80 and 90 is, I think, ideal. But some people
Hmm.
really enjoy 120 degrees or
Right.
more.
Whew,
So
man,
yeah,
that is
yeah.
crazy. And then, so how
Don't
does it,
stay for long though.
what's that?
You don't stay for long. I mean, that's the
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Like, you go out in between and then you come back, and
Hmm.
so. mm.
So what is the, maybe ideal or best type of sauna? It's kind of like because there's like a steam sauna and stuff too, right? There's different types.
Yeah, well, we don't really have the steam sauna as such. I think that's more like you would find in a Turkish bath, like a hammam, because they have a type of sauna, and that's more like a steam room.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's what you're thinking of, but we
Yeah.
basically have wood burning stove saunas, and then we have electric, just like you just plug it in and it heats up,
Hmm.
which is quite common these days and easy. Obviously, you don't have to, you do the whole thing of lighting a fire, and.
Right.
Then there's also something like, I don't really know what it would be called in English. Like, we call it smoke sauna, and I'm not really sure about the technique, but there's basically, I've only ever once been in one of those, and it's like this really, really old way of sauna bathing, is that you have this, you kind of, I actually don't really know how it works, but basically it's like this, it's actually pitch black, like the inside of
Huh.
the sauna is from the smoke. So basically you kind of use smoke to kind of heat the room somehow, and it becomes really, like, the heat is a bit different. It's very soft and very, very kind of pleasant to be in once you've gone through the whole trouble of actually, the fire and, all that stuff, and letting it cool to the right temperature. But it's a science, and I'm no expert, and some Finn is going to be listening to this and going, oh no, she's got it
Yeah.
all. Because they are not that common anymore, but they used to be.
Hmm.
But there are all these aficionados that will only say, oh, only a wood burning one, that's, everything else is crap, and
Hmm.
so. But
Right. I
but
think
if you
I've
go to,
heard.
like,
Go
sorry,
ahead. No, go ahead, Joanna.
just say, like, if you go to a gym, for instance, every gym in Helsinki has its own sauna, so you can go afterwards, after
Hmm.
you've been to the shower, you can go, and they would always be electric, because obviously, it's safer, and it's no trouble when you don't have to get it started and maintain it, so you just plug it in.
Yeah,
So
it's much
that's really
easier.
common. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I wish we had more of those because it's only like higher end gyms really have saunas here. It's
Right.
just not very common. Yeah, but yeah, we're in an apartment right now, but when we move out, that's like one of the top things that I want to have at my house is a sauna for sure.
Right. Yeah.
It
It's
seems
your
so great.
genes.
And then is kind of the, sauna and then doing like a ice plunge kind of stuff. Is that popular in Finland?
Yeah, yeah, it is popular. I have a small chapter on that in my book as well, because I know people are interested, and it's obviously one of the times when you get to show your Sisu. We call it winter bathing,
Okay.
basically. So all kinds of most kinds of winter bathing would take place kind of in connection with the sauna, because obviously if you go into basically a frozen lake in only, well, you would be wearing your bathing suit and you would have a beanie and you would have gloves and you would have socks on your feet, basically.
Hmm.
But even so, even if you don't stay in for very long, you would kind of need to reheat quite quickly. So that's why people tend to do it sort of, they come out of the sauna, they jump in, and they spend maybe a minute and then they go back up, they dry off and maybe go back into the sauna or just put their clothes on. So it's kind of, but then again, we have winter bathers who don't go via the sauna at all and just kind of,
Wow.
go straight from a normal room temperature house and go for a dip and then they come back up. And that's actually a growing thing again, like it's a really traditional thing.
Uh-huh.
You will find lots of old people who do it and who praise it, for everything, basically, for keeping them healthy and in good vigor and all those things. And I believe it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
actually growing now among younger people as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
it's not about to die out.
yeah,
Surprise.
right. It's so interesting because it sounds terrible. I've never done it, but I
Yeah.
want to try it because it just sounds like, I've read some of the, that of just the health benefits for your body of doing that, but it
Yeah.
just seems like a good kind of like mental exercise to make yourself do that, to kind of
Yeah.
put yourself through the discomfort.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, I think one thing that people do when they start is that you wouldn't necessarily wait until it's like really cold, like
Hmm.
freezing cold for your first ever dip. So you would maybe start in autumn and then you would work your way up, so that you would get used to it. Like for every time you go, it's a little colder. So
Uh-huh.
that's the thing. But it's interesting that you raised that thing about discomfort, because that's really a Finnish thing as well, and that's kind of something I discovered. Well, I didn't discover it, but I thought about it properly for the first time when I was researching my book. Just this kind of ideal that we have, that things shouldn't come easy, that they're not as valuable, if they come easily, which
Hmm.
is why we still have, summer houses without running water, central heating, these kinds of things, even though we lead very comfortable lives otherwise. That there's this ideal, that your summer house should be on an island, far away from like from anywhere else, and you should get there by boat. Those are the best kinds of summer houses that you get to only by boat, and then you drag everything with you, like your the water that you're going to be needing and food for 2 weeks, and then you have a wood burning stove, you don't have electricity, and you do everything like they used to do. And I think now in this day and age, that is kind of becoming a bit interesting as a phenomenon, because of course, we love comfort, I think, as much as anyone else, at least I do. But when it comes to those things, you can really tell that there are some like old traditions and values that still hold sway over Finns, that even some young people will really want to be roughing it, when they go away for their summer holiday. And
Hmm.
that's kind of that's a bit different from a lot of other cultures that I've encountered.
Yeah. So why do you think that is? Why do Finns enjoy that? Just to kind of put things in perspective and help them realize that, life is pretty good and we should appreciate it? Or is it, I mean, why do this, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think that's probably part of it, that kind of appreciation. But I think it's also just maybe, I think, a connection to nature that I feel that we still have, because we have nurtured it. I would say that, I mean, even if Finland is a fairly urbanized country, in many respects, we still have so much like genuine wilderness, for instance. We still have these like untouched areas and huge forests and things. And because it's not an overpopulated country by far, I think it's allowed us to kind of hold on to that kind of connection. Like it hasn't been broken at any point, during industrialization or later on.
Hmm.
And So I think a lot of people nurture this kind of link to nature, and this is maybe the easiest way for a modern person to find it. You know, we spend a lot of time in the forest, we spend a lot of time outdoors, and we like things to not be very manicured or very comfortable. We like the sense of wilderness, you know, that you can visit a forest that is big enough for you to get lost in. I mean, people kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think maybe it kind of harks back to something that we feel that we've lost a little bit, you know, that everybody used to have. We used to have this natural connection to nature, and this is maybe how we kind of feel it, that, you know, you should feel it in your body when you're done with a day. You know, you have done things, you've been rowing, or you've been chopping wood, or you've been walking for miles, and it gives you a good feeling, and it gives you a great feeling of satisfaction that you don't easily come by in this, you know, sitting at a desk at your office job, which everybody does. So I think there's something there, probably.
Mm-hmm. No, I could totally relate to that because, like,
Mm.
I'll have, you know, I feel like I have to go camping at least once every 3 months, or else I start to just kind of get like, I just feel like I have to get out. You know what I mean?
Having crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's it's a weird feeling. It's hard to describe, and it's like, you know, it's kind of exhausting to go camping. It's a lot of work to get things set up and, you know, pack everything up and get there and, you know, just have your basic necessities, but it's just there's something about it that I really enjoy and like feel like I need to do regularly.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that hard living in LA to go camping?
You know, it's at probably generally at least a 3 to 6 hour drive to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a lot of national parks are tricky sometimes because they can just be full of people.
Right.
You know,
To
sometimes
be
they're more crowded than at home. Yeah. But we have a lot of kind of open desert land, and there's spots to go
Right.
where you can kind of isolate yourself and be in. You know, what's cool around here is we could be in the desert, we could be drive up to the mountains, we could go to the beach. There's a lot of different terrain
Yeah,
we could hit up, you know.
that sounds
So
wonderful.
that yeah, that's a bonus about being here for sure.
Yeah. Do you have lots
Oh,
of friends who are like you though? Or I'm just
that's
wondering if is this genetic or is it, you know?
that's a good question. You know, I do have a few friends who are similar and I'll go camping with and have that same kind of, you know, they know what I'm talking about when I say that I need to go camping, but I wouldn't say it's common.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I wonder if it is like a genetic thing.
That would be really interesting. I wonder
Yeah,
what the gene would be for that.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's funny. I never even considered
yeah,
that.
right.
But yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just love learning about the Finnish culture because it seems like at least us in the US, we could learn from you guys and you know, take a hint from some of the things that you guys are doing because it just sounds nicer. And I'd love to come visit and try this stuff out. If I came to visit, would I be able to try the like ice or the winter bathing stuff, or is that
Sure.
for locals only?
No, 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 it's not for locals only. I think I
Okay.
could hook you up with like a group of people who would teach you the ropes, and then you would get to
Sweet.
have a go. You
Yeah,
need
that'd
to
be
come
so
take
fun.
some time, obviously, but
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Man, I would love to come and try all that stuff and just
Hmm.
kind of I'd love to come over there for a long time, like at least a few
Hmm.
months and really settle in and kind of see what you guys are doing every day.
Hmm. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
Have you? That'd be great.
Sweet. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, have you made the trip over? Have you been to the US at all?
I have. Yeah, several times. I actually have family there. Well, my husband's sister is married to an American, and she and her husband and their two kids, they live in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been there a couple of times, and I've also been to the East Coast. So
Okay.
yeah, but not where you are. That's completely uncharted. But I'd like to see California for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely come over. It's a cool area. There's a lot of fun stuff to check out here for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, sure, absolutely.
So are there? I mean, this is maybe a tough question, but are there any sort of key differences that you can kind of pick out between Americans and Finnish people? Or like, trait differences maybe, or lifestyle differences?
Not maybe lifestyle differences. Some, well, yeah, I would sort of attack the traits first. Yeah, there are definitely some trait differences. I think in general, we Finns, we don't really pride ourselves on being able to do small talk. I mean, the silence in our culture, I think, is probably the biggest difference to America and Americans, of whom I've known many, lovely people, everybody. But I think the big difference is that we have this thing of like social silence, where it's fairly acceptable in Finland to not say anything, even if
Hmm.
you're in a group of people. Like you can sit a few people for like several minutes and nobody would say anything. And
Yes.
I can't really see that happening in the States. I mean, it would be really, really awkward.
It
Like
would,
somebody would
yes.
break it just because it's so awkward. And people break it here too, but not as quickly, And
Uh-huh.
I think it tends to unnerve people from other cultures, like not just Americans, but everybody, because it's so different. But I think, aside from the fact that it can be unnerving, I think it sort of, if you look at it from a positive angle, I think it's kind of a generosity, that you offer each other. That if you don't want to speak, that's fine, or if you don't have anything to say, don't speak, just to fill the gap, don't fill the silence. Um, and we have, like I said, we kind of like economy of language. We don't like to use our precious words like lightly. For instance, like the phrase "Minä rakastan sinua," I love you in Finnish, is like something that you would never use in the same way that we use it in English, where you love The Simpsons or you love pizza,
Right.
and so that word is just like really, really strong, and it's only reserved for, like, you wouldn't necessarily say it to very many people, even over the course of a lifetime. So it's that
Wow.
attitude, I think, translates into how we look at spending time together and socializing. That, of course, we talk about the weather and stuff like that, but I think the general idea is that don't waste my time, don't waste
Yes.
my time with like stupid things that don't mean anything. Like, if we're going to talk, let's talk about stuff that is meaningful.
Hmm.
So I think that's a cultural difference that sets us apart from not just Americans, but a lot of other cultures as well.
Yes. I love that. I feel like I totally relate to that too. So I don't know if this is a genetic thing too, but yeah, like I get so frustrated when we will go out to eat with some friends and like I can't even eat because we have to talk the whole time. I'm like, can we
Right.
just, at least enjoy the food here for a minute and, not chat?
Sure.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like even, I'll go out and like Sydney, my girlfriend, she'll be like, "Are you, is everything okay? You weren't saying much at dinner." I was like, "Yeah, I just didn't have anything to say." You know,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like, well, I'm not just gonna make up stuff because I don't just to say something. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. I love that you guys do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You
That
would
that's
fit right in. Nobody would ever ask you if you're okay. It would be like, you could be silent for 10 minutes and then maybe.
yeah, right. Oh, that's
Or
so
just
great.
maybe then. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's a difference. And I think another one is, because I worked for different companies, and including one that was actually a Finnish American company, and that was an interesting sort of exercise in the cultural differences, because we can be, the thing about, when we do speak, we can
Hmm.
be quite blunt in Finland. Like, because we don't really understand the point of small talk, we would
Yeah.
just go straight to the point, and we would just say, like, for instance, in business deals, like, there can be this like discrepancy between the cultures, because I think in the States, you kind of have this understanding that you need to be, buttering people up a bit, and you need to be saying good, nice things and paying them compliments and so on. And we appreciate that, but it's not something we would necessarily think to do, you know. So we might just as well just get straight to it and start, you know, hammering out the deal or putting everything on the table and say, what do you think about this? I think that's too much, or I think that's too little, and not sort of sugarcoat things, just say it how it is. So I think the management style, the business management style in Finland is quite Finnish. That's
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. I feel like I relate to that too, where I'm like, let's just get down to business. Let's do what we're here to do rather than, you know, like circle around the subject and never talk
right.
about the real stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, you guys
Yeah.
are awesome.
Well, it sounds like you probably have, if it's not in your genes, then it must be in your culture. Like some of these things are probably filtered down, you know, from your grandparents and parents, and stuff that you've picked up on without necessarily realizing that you have, I
Mm-hmm.
think, you know. But then
Yeah.
again, of course, not every, I mean, you Americans are also very different, and there's a lot of diversity. And of course, you have I know some Finns who are extremely social and talk all the time. So I
Right.
mean, it's always a danger of, you know, making,
Generalizing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But
Mm-hmm. No, I get
and
that. But
as
I
a rule,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But I mean, like, you know, kind of hearing how you generally describe a Finnish person, it sounds exactly like my grandma. She was very stern and would say exactly what she thought, and you
Yeah.
know, she was tough, but also, you know, she was loving to us as her grandkids.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I can see it a lot in her, and I may have picked up on, you know, some of that, I'm sure, just being with her when I was young and stuff. So
Sure. Yeah.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Well, Joanna, this was awesome. I love hearing about this. It makes me want to come visit
Oh,
Finland so bad. I'm gonna make it a priority. I gotta come at least in the
yeah.
next year or two. I'm gonna make it over
Yeah.
there.
Please do that.
Yeah.
Give me a call when you arrive.
Yes, definitely
Yeah.
will. Cool. So let's give your book, Sisu, The Finnish Art of Courage. That's on Amazon. I'll have a link to that. Is there anywhere else we should send people?
Well, you can find me on Instagram. I don't post and Facebook, just Joanna Nylund. I don't post like massively, but I always try to put some, you know, new stuff about the book and so on
Hmm.
there. So if you're interested to follow,
Sweet.
then it's basically, yeah,
Cool. No, I'll definitely have links to all that stuff.
great.
And yeah, this is great. I love learning about this stuff, and it's awesome,
So
especially,
cool.
you know, because I can relate to it so
Very
much.
kind
Like,
person.
yeah, having those genes and seeing it in my personal family. So it was really
Right.
fun to talk to you.
Likewise, Travis, it was really nice. Thank you so
Cool.
much for having me on the podcast. It's so cool.
Of course. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. All right.
Yeah. Thanks. You too.
Thank you.